Welcome everybody. We are discussing the chapter Plant Kingdom, that is the class 11th biology, chapter 3. So in this chapter, we have already discussed up to bryophytes in our 3 previous sessions. So today in this session, we will discuss about the pteridophytes. So what is pteridophytes? What type of plants are included under pteridophytes? The pteridophytes includes the horsetails and thorns. The pteridophytes are used for medicinal purposes and as soil binder. As you know, wherever the pteridophytes are growing, they bind the soil very firmly so that soil erosion is prevented. They are also frequently grown as ornamental plants because their leaves are very beautiful. So often these plants are kept inside the room, inside the home, and it has a very aesthetic sense, develops a very aesthetic sense. And evolutionarily, they are the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissue. See, the algae which we have studied were aquatic. Primarily they were aquatic. Then when we shifted to bryophytes, the bryophytes are amphibious. That means see how in the course of evolution their habitat is changing. So all of a sudden the terrestrial organisms or terrestrial plants are not evolved from the aquatic plants. So the aquatic plants evolved to become amphibious plants. That means they can dwell in both water as well as land. Then from the amphibious stage or amphibious plants, the complete terrestrial plants are evolved. Okay, complete terrestrial plants means what? The plants which grow on the land may be moisture rich soil, but for reproduction these plants require air. Okay, they do not require water for their reproduction. So that's why they are completely terrestrial. And before the pteridophytes, in no plant the vascular tissue were there. The xylem and phloem were not there in any plant before the pteridophytes. So that's why it is the very important point to remember. From the examination point of view also it is very important. The pteridophytes are the first vascular cryptogams which contains the xylem and phloem. And the pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, sandy places, but some of them may flourish well in sandy soil conditions also. Okay, and unlike bryophytes, in bryophytes the main plant body was gametophyte, but here in pteridophyte the main plant body is a sporophyte, and the sporophyte is differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. But in bryophyte, root-like, stem-like and leaf-like structures were there. Because in bryophytes, there were no vascular tissue. But here in sporophytes of pteridophyte, the true root, true stem and true leaves are there, which contains the vascular tissue, that is xylem and phloem, and they perform the function of a root, stem and leaves. Okay, and the leaves in some pteridophyte are very small. They are called microphyls, as in case of Selaginella, or they may be larger in size, as in case of fern. They are called macrophyls. Macro means always larger, micro means smaller. So in Selaginella like species, the it is a pteridophyta in which the leaves are small, but in fawn the leaves are larger. They are called macrophytes. So here you can see the picture of some pteridophytes. So you can see all these plants are ornamental plants. They beautify the environment. So that's why most of these plants are kept inside the in the living room to decorate the room. Okay. So here you can see the macrophyll and microphyll in Selaginella. The first example you can see the leaves are small and that is called microphyll. But you come to Pteris, second one. In Pteris the leaves are larger in size and that is called macrophyll. So the third diagram is the is also of the Pteris, and here you can see the how big is the leaf. Okay, this complete structure is a leaf, single leaf. I will show you the separate diagram. The complete structure is a leaf. So it is a compound leaf, you can see. Okay. So Pteris, then Adiantum also the leaves are very large, so they are macrophylls. Okay. But here you see the leaves are which are called sporophylls. They are forming a cone-like structures. Okay. Now next come to the sporophyte. What are the characteristic feature of sporophyte and why they are called sporophyte? As you know, in bryophytes, I have already told you, the sporophytes is that phase of a plant which produces spores and reproduces asexually. Okay. So in pteridophytes, the main plant body is sporophyte, which contains sporangia, which are extended out as a appendage called sporophyll. I will show you the picture so that it will be clear to you. So just below the leaf, I mean the under surface of the leaf, the sporangia are present. Okay, and such leaves which contains the sporangia are called sporophylls. Very, very important. Okay. In some cases, the sporophyll may form distinct compact structure, as I have shown you in Equisetum, a cone-like structure is there. So these sporophylls are called strobili or cones. Okay. So very important, when the sporophylls or the sporangium bearing leaves are forming a compact structure, a cone-shaped structure, then that is called strobili or cones. This is found in Selaginella and Equisetum. Now the sporangia, you know what is sporangia? Sporangia is the structure that produces the spores. And how the spores are produced in the sporangia? The spores should be haploid. Okay, because the spore has to be developed into gametophyte, and the gametophyte of pteridophyta is haploid. But the sporophyte is diploid, so the sporangia, the cells that constitute the sporangia are also diploid. So the cells of the sporangia divide by the process of meiosis to produce haploid spores. Okay. So actually the sporangia contains a mass of cell which upon maturity are called spore mother cell, which are diploid. But this spore mother cell, each spore mother cell divide meiotically to form 4 haploid spore. So a large number of spores are produced, haploid spores are produced in a sporangia. Then when the spores are dispersed, means when the sporangia bursts and the spores are released and they are taken by some agents to different places, they germinate to give rise to a structure which is inconspicuous, means which is not very clear. The structure is very not clear, and it is small and multicellular, free living and photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte. So what is the nature of gametophyte here? This is opposite to the bryophyta. In bryophyta, the main plant body is gametophyte, which is differentiated into root-like, stem-like and leaf-like structure. But in pteridophyta, the sporophyte is the main plant body, which is differentiated into root, stem and leaf. True root, true stem, true leaves. So the sporophyte reproduces asexually by producing haploid spores, and those spores germinates to form a structure which is a leaf-like flattened structure, free living. It is not dependent on the sporophyte, and it is multicellular structure called prothallus. So in my previous session I have told you that from the examination of point of view, it is very important to know the difference between prothallus and protonema. The protonema is the structure that develops from the spores of the bryophytes, and prothallus is the structure that is the first stage of the gametophyte, that is developed from the spores produced by the sporophyte of pteridophyta. So here very clearly I am showing you the picture of a pod. So this is the you can see the roots are there, true roots are there. Then the stem is modified into rhizome. Rhizome, you know, it is also present in ginger, underground stem. So the stem is underground and here are the leaves. So the whole structure is a leaf. Okay. So this is such a big leaf is there. Okay. Now here this is the another leaf that is going to be developed. Okay. So let us see one leaf. In one leaf you can see the leaf lamina or the leaf blade. Here it is labeled leaf blade is well expanded, and leaf lamina is again divided into many leaflets. These are called leaflets. Okay. Now the whole structure from here, it is called the frond. So frond we have studied in brown algae. Okay. The holdfast, stipe and frond. So this can be compared with the frond. Okay, but it is actually a true leaf which contains the vascular tissue. Now this is a compound leaf. In the morphology of plants you will study about the compound leaf. So here in compound leaf, the leaf lamina is dissected into leaflets. So here it is the leaf lamina divided into leaflets, and now you can see these leaflets develops the sporangia on its lower surface. Okay, ये जो आप लीफ देख रहे हो, लीफ का नीचे वाला हिस्सा अंडर सरफेस होता है, वहां पर स्पोरांजियम डेवलप होता है. So this is the structure of very common type of pteridophyte, that is form. Okay. So here you can see various types of sporophyll. As I said, the leaf which contains the sporangium are called sporophyll. So here you can see the leaves of, this is the leaf of a fern. Okay. So here you can see the sporangium. Each one is called sporangium. These are brown patches present on this. This is just bulging out. Here you can see it is very much clear. It is subtended, means it is just projected out. Okay. So these are the sporangium in different species. These are the sporangium, and inside the sporangium the spores are produced. And the leaf, so this is the leaf, the whole thing is the leaf. So the leaf that contains the sporangium, that develops the sporangium, are called sporophyll, So as I have said you that in Salaginella and Equisetum, the sporophylls are compactly held to form a cone-like structure. So here you can see this is a cone or strobili. This is strobilus, singular is strobilus. So these are the sporophylls. These are the sporophylls which contains the sporangium. Okay. So here you can see two types of sporangiums are there. One is megasporangium, which is bigger in size, and that produces the megaspore, means spores which are larger in size. Okay, so they contain, each sporangium contains the megaspores. The megaspores are larger in size. In contrast to that, another type of sporangium is that which is having many microspores. Okay, so the megasporangium always contains 4 megaspore. Each megasporangium contains 4 megaspore which are haploid. But each microsporangium produces a number of microspores. So they hold a number of microspores which are smaller in size. So this is the structure of a strobili or cone, which is found in some cases, and these are the sporophylls. The leaves are small and they contain the sporangium. And here you can see two types of sporangium. But in fern, what we have seen, there is no such division of sporangium, only one type of sporangium is there. Now what is the gametophyte? So as I told you that the sporophyte contains the sporangium produces the haploid spores. Now the spores dispersed, and when it gets favorable condition, it develops into a leaf-like flattened structure that is called prothallus. So prothallus is the first stage of gametophyte. For the development or for the growth, the gametophyte always requires a cool, damp, shady place. Okay, so this requirement is very restricted. Everywhere it can the spore may not find the such condition like cool, damp, and shady places. So because of this specific restricted requirement and the need for water for fertilization, the spread of living pteridophytes is limited and restricted to narrow geographical regions. Okay, so here what happens, the microspores are produced in large numbers. Even the macrospores are produced in large numbers, but if compared to the microspore, their number is less. But for their growth, very restricted places are required. Okay, and that time what are those environment? Cool, damp, and shady places. So that's why their distribution is very limited. Okay. The gametophytes bear male and female sex organs called antheridia and archegonia. Gametophyte is that prothallus, the leaf-like flattened structure, contains it is the structure that can form the gametes. That's why it is called gametophyte. So the gametophyte bears the female sex organ called antheridia and the male structure that is called antheridia and the female structure that is called archegonia. And those gametophytes which develop in cool, damp, and shady places, they require water for the transfer of the antherozoids. Okay. So the male gametes are produced from the antheridia, they are called antherozoids, and then they move to the mouth of the archegonium. I will show you the diagram so that it will be clear to you. Then the fusion of the male and female gamete or the egg takes place in the archegonium. Okay, and after the fusion, the zygote is formed. Then the zygote forms a multicellular, well differentiated sporophyte. Okay, so the dominant phase in pteridophyte is sporophyte. The dominant phase in bryophyte is gametophyte. Remember, this point is very important. So here you see the diagram. So the main plant body, where I am showing my cursor, so the main plant body is sporophyte. It is predominant phase in the life cycle. Now the leaf contains the sporangium, which are called sporophylls. All the leaves will not contain the sporangium. Only those leaves which contains the sporangium are called sporophylls. So here you can see the sporophylls which contains the sporangium has produced. So this is the structure of a sporangium, and inside the sporangium the spores are produced. Now when the sporangium bursts, then the spores are released and the spores are haploid in nature. So here you can see the spores are dispersed by wind. The spores are dispersed by wind. So for asexual reproduction, the wind is the agent for transfer of the spores. So here water is not required. So that's why it is called a completely terrestrial plant. Because the main plant body, which is a sporophyte, do not require water for its reproduction. But the gametophyte requires the water for its reproduction. Okay, so now you can see the spore is dispersed by wind. Then when it gets a favorable condition, that is cool, damp and shady place, then it develops into a multicellular structure which is haploid called gametophyte. Okay, now this gametophyte, you can see here it is a structure, leaf-like, fleshy leaf-like structure, flattened structure. This is called prothallus. So prothallus is the primary structure of the primary stage of the gametophyte. Now this gametophyte is haploid, and when this gametophyte attains maturity, it develops the archegonia and antheridia. So you can see here, this is a heart-shaped structure. This is a heart-shaped structure, and here there is a notch, and just near the notch, encircling the notch, the archegonia are present. So here the location of archegonia and antheridia is very specific. So here the archegonia are present, encircling the notch, and the archegonia, what is archegonia? It is the female reproductive part. So the archegonia, each archegonia produces one egg. Each archegonia contains one egg. So here in the picture you can see, so here is the location of archegonia, and the arrow mark shows the archegonia, and inside each archegonia there is a egg. Okay, now come to the antheridia. So here you can see the antheridia is there, which is present towards the pointed part of the gametophyte, where the roots are there. So here the root-like structures are there, with the help of which it absorbs the nutrient from the soil. So from this part the antheridia are developed. So very clearly the diagram is shown. The antheridia is developed. So here the enlarged structure of antheridia, and the antheridia produces a large number of antherozoids or the sperms. Now because it is growing in the damp soil and moisture, where there is sufficient moisture is there, so when the antherozoids are released or the sperms are released from the antheridia, they are carried by the water current and they are brought to the archegonium. Now in the archegonium, here is the mouth of the archegonium. So through the mouth, the sperm enters into the archegonium, and inside the archegonium the egg is present. Okay, so the number of a large number of sperm cell may enter into the archegonium, but only one sperm cell will fertilize with the egg, and that produces the zygote. So now archegonial cell, that is your egg cell, is haploid, and the sperm or antherozoid is haploid. Now when they are fused, they form a zygote which is diploid. Okay, so now this archegonia develops into a, so here is this is the gametophyte. Now here the fertilized archegonia is there. So from the archegonia a new plant is developed, that is the sporophyte. So this now differentiates to form a complete sporophytic phase. Okay, so here also you can see like bryophytes, they show two phases in their life cycle. One is sporophytic phase, other is gametophytic phase. The sporophytic phase reproduces asexually by producing spore to give rise to the gametophyte, haploid gametophyte. The haploid gametophyte reproduces sexually to develop into the sporophyte, which is diploid. So here two phases, that is gametophyte and sporophyte are there. Gametophyte is haploid, sporophyte is diploid, and in the life cycle they are alternating with each other. So this is called alternation of generation. So as I am showing you in equisetum, there is a cone, and that cone contains different types of sporangia, that is microsporangia and megasporangia or macrosporangia. So here clearly I am showing you the sporophytes are of two types. Okay, so there are some sporophytes which are homosporous, means the sporophytes produces single type of spore from its sporangia, and that spore will develop into a bisexual gametophyte, as I have shown you in the life cycle. Okay, in the previous life cycle I have shown you the development of a bisexual gametophyte. The gametophyte produces the archegonia and antheridia both. So now this bisexual gametophyte can produce egg and sperm both. In contrary, the heterosporous sporophyte. So this sporophyte contains two types of sporangia. One is macrosporangia, other is microsporangia, or you can say megasporangia and microsporangia. The megasporangia or macrosporangia produces the macrospore or megaspore excuse me, which develops into female gametophyte, and the female gametophyte can produce the eggs only. The microspores can develop into male gametophyte and can produce the sperms only. Excuse me. So this is the difference between homosporous pteridophyte and heterosporous pteridophyte. In homosporous pteridophytes, only one kind of spore is produced, but here two kinds of spores are produced, as I have told you earlier. The spores are equal in size, but here the spores are microspore and megaspore, small and big. The spores are produced from the same sporangia, but here two different sporangia are there to produce microspore and megaspore. So in homosporous, the spores develop one kind of gametophyte, but here two types of gametophytes are developed. Then the spore germinates in soil and produces independent gametophyte. This is very important. But here the spore germinates within the sporangia and produce dependent gametophyte. Now this is the most important question that often comes in your exam. The difference between protonema and prothallus. With the help of diagram I have shown you, and I think your the concept regarding protonema and prothallus will be very much clear from this. So what is protonema? As I have earlier told you that the protonema develops from the spore of the bryophyte, which is a thread-like, stem-like structure which is branched. It has two stages. One is primary protonema and then leafy protonema. Okay, so they can develop into a leafy shoot. Okay, and it is resulted due to the germination of spore. Now what is prothallus? Prothallus is found in pteridophyte. Protonema is found in bryophyte. So in pteridophyte, it is the gametophyte of the pteridophyte, and it is a heart-shaped multicellular structure. It produces the male gamete and the female gamete. It has the roots with the help of which it absorbs the nutrient from the soil. Okay, so this structure is called prothallus. It is a heart-shaped structure having a notch. Okay, so I hope the difference between protonema and prothallus is clear to you. So you can differentiate structurally as well as functionally also. In case of protonema, the leaves are developed, prominent leaf-like structures are developed, but here itself the prothallus itself is a big leaf-like flattened structure which is heart-shaped. Okay. Now, role of pteridophytes in evolution. The development of the zygote into young embryo takes place within the female gametophyte. As I have shown you, that is आर्किगोनिया के अंदर ही जाइगोट का डेवलपमेंट होता है. So this event is a precursor to the seed habit, considered an important step in evolution. आप इसके बाद आप देखोगे कि आपका जिम्नोस्पर्म एंड एंजियोस्पर्म हम पढ़ेंगे इसके बाद. सो जिम्नोस्पर्म एंड एंजियोस्पर्म में आपका सीड डेवलपमेंट हो जाता है. तो हियर विद द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ जाइगोट इनसाइड द female gametophyte, that is archegonia, is a feature that shows that in due course of evolution the seed will be developed. Okay, so at the end let us just know the classification of pteridophyta. So details of these classes are not required, but you have to know what are the classes. So the pteridophyta are differentiated or divided into 4 groups, that is Psilophyta, Lycophyta, Arthrophyta and Filicophyta. Okay, so here are the examples of this each group, that is Coeloterm and Rhynia. Just you remember the group and the examples. And for your class it is not essential to know more about these groups. So Lycophyta, its example is Lycopodium. Arthrophyta, its example is Equisetum. Then Filicophyta, its example is Fern. Okay, so I hope all your doubts are clarified, and if even then even after that if you have any doubts you can ask me in the comment section. And so in the next session we will discuss the gymnosperms. Okay, so if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe so that you can watch all the videos of class 11th and 12th biology. And if you like my video, then please press the like button and please give a comment so that it will be motivation for me. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you.